The stone floor is cold against your knees, and not just from the chill. There is something about this temple that seems to leach the heat out of you, as if it's feeding it to the statues looming overhead. They stand in silent judgment, these Sith Lords of centuries past, their expressions carved in a way that makes you feel like they ray smiling at you and through you, all malice and mockery. Each one holding a weapon that has been stained by more blood than you could spill in a lifetime. The only sound is the faint crackle of blood-red torchlight. Shadows dancing across the black stone like hungry beasts. The light glints off the jagged fracture in your kyber crystal, your life's work, now humming with a barely contained rage of its own. From the pedestal before you, the holocron stirs, its triangular panels slide open, and a voice emerges smooth, ancient, venom wrapped in silk. To rule, you must first betray. You can almost hear the other statues snickering. You smirk despite yourself. You think. Betrayal, the Sith equivalent of a handshake. Then you feel it, the familiar presence you've known for years, heavy and suffocating as a collapsing star. Your master steps from the shadows, lightsaber in hand. No words. No ceremony. No pretense. Your final trial isn't a duel with a stranger. It's the end of the only relationship in the galaxy you could almost call family. You weren't always draped in black robes and moral ambiguity. Once, you were a bright-eyed Jedi Padawan, hopeful, obedient, and just naive enough to think the Jedi Council knew what they were doing. Days spent in meditation chambers, staring at the same four walls, listening to masters drone about balance and the will of the Force. You tried. You really did. But eventually, you realized the truth. The Council's rules were about as exciting as a moisture farmer's dinner conversation, dry, tasteless, and guaranteed to make you wish for death just to end the boredom. The shift didn't happen overnight. It began with questions. Why can't we use our power actually to shape the galaxy instead of just babysitting it? Why deny emotions when they're the very thing that make us alive? The Jedi told you to meditate until the questions went away. The Sith told you to meditate until the questions turned into answers, and those answers turned into action. And so, one evening, you walked away from the Order, not dramatically, no grand duel, no tragic parting scene. You just left. And when the Sith found you, they didn't bother with speeches about destiny or morality. They simply said, the Jedi will tell you to deny yourself. We will tell you to indulge yourself. And then they handed you a lightsaber, your first crimson blade. The hiss-pop of ignition didn't just sound like a weapon coming to life. It felt like the galaxy itself was permitting you to be awful, magnificently, unapologetically awful. You still remember that first thought. The Jedi wanted me to meditate on peace. The Sith wanted me to meditate on murder. Guess which one was more exciting? That was the day you stopped trying to be good and started aiming to be unforgettable. Your first day of training as a Sith apprentice begins with blood, and not metaphorically. The Sith Academy doesn't have orientation days. There's no welcome breakfast, no icebreaker games. Instead, they toss you into a sand pit with another recruit and tell you that the only way you leaving is if one of you can walk out. The weapons are varied blades, staffs, electro-batons, and, for the truly ambitious, the crackle of Force lightning. You learn fast that lightning doesn't just burn, it crawls. It snakes into muscle fibers, dances along your bones, and leaves behind a smell disturbingly close to roasted nerf meat. The first time your master fries you with it, he says, good, you didn't scream. Next time, scream. It terrifies the audience. Combat isn't the only skill they hammer into you. The Sith value manipulation almost as much as violence. One day you're dueling in the training halls, the next, you're sitting across from a planetary governor, smiling warmly while under the table, your hand is clenched in a Force choke so subtle he doesn't realize why he is agreeing to hand over his fleet. It's the art of diplomacy, Sith style. Then come the philosophy lessons. Not the Jedi's soft poetry about harmony and selflessness, but lines like, mercy is for when you're too tired to finish the job, fear lasts longer than respect, love is useful until it isn't. And the duels, the duels. In the Jedi Order, sparring is about learning. In the Sith, it's about thinning the herd. A duel isn't a test of honor, it's an HR performance review with fatal consequences. The loser isn't let go. The loser is buried somewhere remote. You learn quickly that in the Sith, the good performance review means your boss doesn't throw you into a sarlacc pit. A great performance review means you get to throw them in first. By the end of your first year, you can kill a man in 12 different ways with a lightsaber and ruin his political reputation in half that time. Your first conquest isn't glamorous. It's not Coruscant or Naboo, it's Myrith, a swamp planet where the air tastes like wet moss and the mud has more personality than most of its inhabitants. The locals, a scaled amphibious species with eyes the size of your fist, take one look at your black robes, your crimson blade, and the casual way you force lift a boulder the size of their fishing huts. And they declare you a god. You don't correct them. Godhood, you find, has its perks. You tax them in food because swamp stew isn't as bad as it sounds if you add enough spice. In labor, someone has to build that obsidian throne you've been sketching in your downtime, and, occasionally, in volunteers for, let's call it applied alchemy and force experimentation. It's amazing what a villager will agree to when they believe lightning will shoot from your eyes if they refuse. But no Sith rules alone. The code demands apprentices not out of generosity, but because apprentices are weapons, tools, and occasionally, amusing company. You choose yours not for skill, but for attitude. You pick the angriest, most ambitious swamp youth you can find. The one who spits at the ground when you pass. You don't want loyalty. Loyalty is boring. You want someone who will spend every waking hour plotting your downfall. Keeps the days interesting, of course. Ruling a swamp world is more than swinging a saber, it's about navigating the real battlefield. Sith politics. First lesson, your Darth name matters. You spend nights meditating on possibilities. Darth Ruin, taken. Darth Malice, overused. Darth Cuddles. Let's just say no one fears Darth Cuddles. And you'd prefer your enemies to soil themselves at the mention of your name. Not snicker. Eventually, you settle on something sharp, heavy with menace, and marketable. Then comes the delicate art of undermining rivals. Sometimes it's whispers in the right ears. Sometimes it's feeding false intel that sends them into a trap. And sometimes it's slipping a little something extra into their bantha stew. Sith diplomacy is a lot like cooking. Timing and seasoning are everything. By the time the swamp world is fully under your control, you have a throne, an apprentice who hates you, and at least 3 rivals in the outer systems who are suddenly very interested in your demise. You couldn't be prouder. Your days as a galactic villain start with the least glamorous task imaginable: meetings. Forget the romantic image of endless lightsaber duels. Most of your time is spent sitting at a long obsidian tab. Low with the Sith Council, where every chair has a built-in weapons scanner and the catering staff is rotated weekly. For security reasons, imagine a business boardroom where everyone's armed, everyone's plotting your death, and the refreshments might be poisoned, and that's before the meeting agenda is finished. First order of business, reviewing war campaigns. Holomaps glow with planetary systems under siege. Red dots for targets, green dots for allies, yellow dots for, well, opportunities to convert neutral planets into loyal Sith territory. You approve assassinations over morning cough the way other leaders approve tax budgets. A troublesome senator, gone. A Jedi Knight gaining too much influence. Scheduled for a training accident involving a Star Destroyer's faulty airlock. Then there are the Jedi hunts. Not the dramatic, climactic duels you see in the propaganda vids, no. The real thing is part stakeout, part cat and mouse, part PR stunt. Half the fun is watching their morale crack when they realize the Order won't come for them. You've learned the best way to lure a Jedi is with a distress signal and just enough truth to make their conscience itch. And yet, for all this galaxy-spanning power, the true Sith secret is depressingly mundane. We spend as much time fighting each other as we do ruling the galaxy. Rivalries are constant. Alliances are temporary. And nobody actually trusts the person sitting next to them, especially if they're smiling. In fact, it's widely accepted in Sith culture that you don't really know someone until you've tried to kill them at least once. The council chambers themselves are equipped with discrete drain systems under the floor because blood cleanup is an expected part of the workday. Dark humor keeps you sane. As you once joked to your apprentice during a particularly tense meeting, We could have taken over the galaxy centuries ago if we didn't keep killing our own HR department. The joke got a laugh from half the table and an assassination attempt from the other half. Honestly, that's how you know it landed. Your war with the Jedi isn't just fought with lightsabers, it's fought with stories. Their propaganda paints you as a heartless tyrant who lives to spread chaos. Yours paints them as naive monks who think the galaxy can be run on hugs and hope. Somewhere in between is the truth. You're not evil, you're just practical. The galaxy is a dangerous place, and someone has to be willing to make the decisions the Jedi are too squeamish to touch. When you do crossblades with them, it's never the clean, cinematic duel that the archives make it out to be. You learned long ago that a lightsaber fight isn't about the flashiest moves, it's about opportunism. Why clash blades in a perfect Form 3 stance when you can throw a metal table at their head mid-swing? Jedi call that dishonorable. You call it Tuesday. Still, in rare moments of quiet honesty, you can admit the Jedi have one thing you envy: their robes. They're tailored, flowing, and most importantly don't smell like burnt leather after a lightsaber duel. You've even considered confiscating a few. But the problem with wearing a Jedi robe as a Sith Lord is that people start aiming for you twice as often. But robes don't win wars, paranoia does. Every Jedi you kill, you wonder if it was truly the last time you'd see their kind. And then a new one appears, younger, faster, full of righteous fury. You start to think they grow them in vats somewhere. And so the Jedi problem isn't just about beating them, it's about never assuming you've actually beaten them. If the Jedi are your greatest external threat, your apprentice is your greatest internal one. It's the way of the Sith. An apprentice grows in power, skill, and cunning until one day, tradition demands they kill their master. That's not betrayal, it's career advancement. From the moment you take them under your wing, the countdown begins. At first, it is subtle. The ambitious glint in their eye when they best you in a sparring match, the questions they ask about succession, the slightly too long pauses when they say yes, my lord. You know what they're thinking, because once, you thought the same thing. So you take precautions. You give them just enough power to keep them loyal, but never enough to let them feel safe. You pass down knowledge in fragments, half-truths mixed with deliberate gaps, so that even if they do turn on you, they'll be missing something critical: their lightsaber crystals. You have them mined from an unreliable vein. So there's always a chance they'll fail at the wrong moment. And then there are the missions. The ones that look like promotions, but are really extended death sentences. Go assassinate that Jedi Master on Dathomir, alone. Negotiate with that crime syndicate that specializes in killing Force users. Stand over there while I test this new Sith super weapon. You keep up the weight of mentorship, correcting their form in a duel, offering insights into Sith history, but both of you know what's really happening. In the Sith, mentorship is just slow-motion murder with feedback sessions. Sometimes you wonder if they already know you're planning their end. Sometimes you wonder if they're planning yours faster. It's the moment every Sith dreams of: your black and crimson banner unfurled over the Senate building on Coruscant. The core worlds broadcast your image on the holonet, the Shadow Emperor. Entire fleets drop out of hyperspace just to perform synchronized salutes in your honor. Even your enemies can't help but admire the efficiency of your conquests. You've replaced the Jedi Temple with your personal citadel, its archives stripped bare, its meditation gardens converted into dueling pits. The galaxy now bends to your will. Trade routes are yours to choke. Planetary governors grovel for your approval. And the spice cartels pay tribute to ensure their shipments mysteriously pass inspections. You even have your own brand of wine, a Crimson Rain. The bottle is elegant, the flavor somewhere between regret and ambition, with a finish of mild tyranny. Courtiers swear it's intoxicating. You just like that it's named after you. But amid the glory, you know the truth every seasoned Sith does. Empires don't crumble because of Jedi. They crumble because of other Sith. Every smile from a fellow Lord hides a dagger. Every toast is a potential poisoning. Every Your Excellency is one breath away from becoming Your Excellency, who we just pushed out an airlock. You tell yourself you're ready, but readiness doesn't stop the inevitable. It happens in the throne room, the place meant to symbolize your unshakable rule. Your apprentice arrives not to kneel, but to challenge. They don't ask, they ignite their saber, Tradition requires nothing else. The duel is relentless. Your red blade clashes against theirs. Force lightning crackling through the air and scorching ornate pillars. The floor trembles under the strain of force pushes and collapsing masonry. Statues of ancient Sith crumble, their stone faces indifferent to your struggle. You fight like only a Sith can, every strike a mix of precision, fury, and survival instinct sharpened by years of paranoia. You're winning, until they pull the one move you should have seen coming. A maneuver you taught them years ago, back when you still thought mentorship was an act of strength rather than a countdown to your own obituary. Your guard falters, their blade finds its mark. You taste copper and the bitter satisfaction of knowing they didn't win through skill, they won through you. You raise them, feed them, teach them, and this is the thanks you get. Sith Father's Day is a joke. As you collapse, the galaxy spins, somewhere in the distance. The holonet will announce your death as a transition of leadership. You know better. In the Sith, leadership is just another word for next target. You fall. Maybe it's into the open maw of a reactor shaft, the hum of energy swallowing your scream. Maybe it's onto the tip of their blade, the searing heat cauterizing the wound before you even hit the floor. It doesn't matter, the end feels the same. For a moment, there is pain, then a strange, undeniable pride. You trained them well enough to kill you. The Sith would call that a success story. The Jedi would call it karma. You call it Tuesday. But in the Sith way, death is rarely the end. You cling to existence like a rancor to fresh meat. Your essence seeps into your weapons, your artifacts, your holocron. You become the whisper in the dark corners of Sith temples, the cold draft in a room with no doors, the voice that says, do it, betray them. Retirement plan, immortality as an evil ghost, dental not included. The galaxy does not remember you as a person, it remembers you as a shadow, a title carved into fear itself. Darth, your name. Worlds whisper your name in the same breath as curses and outer rim cantinas. Smugglers tell tales of how you single-handedly wiped out fleets. In core world nurseries, parents hiss your legend to make unruly children sleep, go to bed, or Darth, your name will find you, and somewhere, far from the reach of the Jedi or the Republic, a forgotten vault stirs. Your holocron flickers to life. Your voice, sharp as glass, cuts through the silence. The Jedi call it corruption. The Sith call it clarity. Which do you believe? If you survived this story, subscribe for more lives you were never meant to live.